Today we have what I'll call the European edition of Wilson Audio Extras. We actually have an amp that was sent to me from a buddy over in Germany, Florian Kling. Thank you, sir, for sending this over. We want to check it out and see what is in this box. Let's get it unwrapped so we can find out. I know the suspense is killing you. What do we have here? It is a Magnat Classic 200 Magnat Technologies. And you can see there how it looks. It's definitely an old amp. Let's look back to some history. Magnat started in 1973, quite a few years ago. Their first car audio products hit the market in 1983 with a two-way setup, but their first amplifier was around 1990. The Magnat Classic 360 has been a very popular amp over in Europe. Now, ampperformance.de tested this 360 and got 4 times 56 watts or 2 times 125 watts. So we have an idea of how much power those do. This one's rated 2 times 100 music power or 1 times 250 music power if it's bridged. So obviously we're going to find out. Here on one end of the amp, you can see it has these spade-style connections for the positive and ground and also the remote, and a 25 amp fuse as well as a power LED. On the other side, the speaker terminals are also spade connections, and we have a DIN in, we have RCA inputs, we have a button to switch it from normal to woofer and from stereo to mono, and also the gain control is on this end. Overall, this amp is classic, early 90s. I think it's from around 1990, but you know what we got to do? We got to fire up the SMD to More Engineering Amplifier dyno and find out how much power this thing puts out. If you haven't seen these tests before, on the left, RMS power output in watts. In the middle, the ohm load. On the right, the voltage of the dyno. We'll also show the remote indicator for the clamp so that we can calculate efficiency. First up, stereo test at 1 kilohertz. It's power on the amplifier. You can see we've got 8 gauge wire going in. We have all the speakers connected. We have the Stinger interconnects there for getting us connected up. Now let's find out. 4 ohms is rated 100 watts by 2 music power, so we're going to assume that means dynamic. So certified test here, 1 kilohertz. What do we get? 87 and 80 watts at 14.24. Of course, it is important to state this amplifier has not been recapped. It has not had thermal paste applied to the transistors. It is the way it is, or the way it was when it was made. Uncertified up to clipping, we got the exact same as we got certified, 87 and 80 watts. Now let's try this dynamic and see if we can get this 100 watts by 2 that it states. Yes, we do get it, plus a little more. Not even at 14.4. 129 and 123. Now what about the efficiency? 48%. This is an old school class AB amplifier, so that is about what we would expect. 2 ohms, it has not provided any ratings, and I couldn't find any online. This amp is so old, but we're going to try it anyway. Here it goes. Certified, notice it stopped 61 and 55 watts, and look at the 28.2 amps of current that were pulled. And so then we just decided to go straight to dynamic and bypass the uncertified tests, as we would have definitely blown that 25 amp fuse. And check it out. It's got some dynamic power at 2 ohms, 190 and 182 watts at 14.3. Now what about the mono test? We did go use the 40 hertz track for these tests and use the right positive and left positive connections there on the amp. And of course we pushed in the button to ensure that it's in mono. So let's find out. 8 ohms. I think that's where it's rated, 250 watts. I don't know. But again, that's what we're going to try first. 8 ohms bridged. Certified test to 1% distortion. 160 watts. So that's equivalent to about 80 watts per channel if we're at 4 ohms. That's how a 2-channel amp works if it's bridged. Uncertified up to clipping. Once again, we're right at the same, right about 160 watts, 158 at 14.26. Now let's try dynamic. Can we get that 250 watts dynamic? Close. Close, but not quite there. 228 at 14.32. What about the efficiency? It bridged. We got 44%, so a little bit worse with the 40 hertz track. Now the results overall, here you can see different tests we did and the results for it being a 35-year-old amplifier. Not too bad. Now let's find out what's inside. Now this amplifier is very unique because how it's constructed. The exterior is very, very well constructed. Thick aluminum all the way around. Very thick heat sink. And when I pull this end panel off, you'll see how thick this end panel is too. And it's hard to display on the video, but yeah, this thing is beefy. It feels heavy, feels well built. Then we can slide this top plate off. This will give us access to the guts of the amplifier. There you can see the single-sided circuit board. You can see the transistors there on the side. 35 volt, 2200 microfarad capacitors, and a lot of smaller capacitors there. There's a relay, and I'm going to do a fly over here. See some of the coils. You can see the transformer and all the good stuff there for the crossover settings and such. Now it's real difficult for me to see what these transistors are. If you're a tech and know what these are and have any updates or any information about them, please let us know in the comments below. We'd all appreciate that. As promised, here's a European edition, the Magnat Classic 200 from back around 1990. I want to give a special shout out to Florian for sending this over to me. Thank you guys always for watching my videos, commenting, liking, subscribing. I just greatly appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy videos like this, even though we didn't do speaker tests. Till next time, Big D, I'm out of here. The OGs always stick around to the end because we might have an additional test, and we do the 4 ohms bridge mono test. And just like the 2 ohm stereo test, it was not certified, was not very impressive. But there you go, 111 watts. What about dynamically at 4 ohms bridge? Can we beat that 250? And yes, well above that, 330 watts at 14.29. There you have it. That's it for this video. Back to some more amp tests. I'll be back.
You know how them sound waves go?
Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way.